Welcome to the Chaos Project, everybody. We are here. We're ready to go. We got some great conversation coming our way and your way. So we're excited about you tuning in today. Bear, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. It's been a little bit, Jeff, since we've been here. You know, storms and assassination attempts, and so much stuff is going on in the past couple of months. But I'm telling you, still standing. As
long as you're still my bodyguard, I'm feeling good. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to talk about PTSD. We're going to talk about recovery. We're going to talk about the unsung heroes of America. And I'm excited with our guest today. Tell us about your guest.
Absolutely. So we have Gunny, a.k.a. Gunny, Jeff Shalansky. Runs FOB Rasor. Man, I've been trying to get a hold of you and do this for a long time. We met a few years ago, and bro, I don't want to be a fanboy or anything, but bro, you're a giant amongst men. The work that you do I'm in awe of it. It's inspiring. It's inspired me to start my own group and do what I can in my community with veterans and first responders. And I cannot say enough good things about what Jeff and his wife do with and for veterans.
Well, I know one thing. I've lived in Montgomery County for about 7 years now. And I do know one thing. When you say Jeff, people know who it is.
We're gonna. Everybody knows Jeff.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Maybe not for what he thinks he wants them to.
Yeah, that's more
He's well known.
But hey, man, I'm glad to be here, and thanks for inviting me, man. I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity, gents.
Hey, we're glad you're here, man. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get fired up. I want to make sure that everyone that's listening really knows who you are.
All right, so I used to think that my destiny was to be a United States Marine. I thought it was my destiny to be a gunnery sergeant. I thought it was my destiny to go forward and do things on the battlefield. But, I realized today that none of those things had anything those were just what I needed to do to fulfill my destiny today, and today only, to be honest with you. But, I'm a retired Marine, but more importantly, I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. I deal with post-traumatic stress. I used to be suicidal. And thankfully, because of a Korean War veteran, for no other reason but to help me, to show me the way, showed me how to change my life. And he systematically showed me how to change my life. And because of his hard work and everything he put into it, I feel compelled. I absolutely have to show other people what this gentleman showed me. And so today, Jeff Shalansky is about bringing FOB Rasor to the battlefield, bringing FOB Rasor to help these men and women who are suffering, and that's kind of what my calling is today. And I realized that I couldn't have done it. I couldn't do what I do today if I wasn't an alcoholic, if I wasn't an addict, if I didn't have PTSD, if I wouldn't have tried to kill myself 8 years ago, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Right.
So that's what I am today. I feel like that's what I want to be today.
So how hard was it 8 years ago for you to recognize where you were and have a willingness to listen to somebody else?
Oh my gosh. To be honest with you, I knew I was an alcoholic since I was 25 years old. There was no doubt that I was physically and mentally addicted to alcohol. But after I retired, there was no left and right lateral limits anymore. There was no limit of advance. There was none of that stuff. So I went downhill really fast after I retired. As a matter of fact, 3 years into it is 3 years into my retirement is when I tried to kill myself. And to be honest with you, gents, it wasn't until I got caught actually trying to kill myself that I even realized that I'm in a place that I've never been before. It was so instantaneous. It was so just unlike anything I'd ever thought or considered before in my entire life, that there really wasn't like, oh, wow, I need help. It wasn't until I got caught that I realized that I need help. And man, thank God, for me, unfortunately, I had pushed so many people out of my life by then. I had nobody left in my life that I could count on anymore. And it wasn't nobody's fault. It was my own. I had isolated myself from everybody. That the only person I could call, the only person that I could pick up the phone and call was TRICARE. And I called my insurance company and I said, hey, my name is Gunny Sergeant Jeff Shalansky. I just tried to kill myself and I need help. And that's how the whole ball started rolling, because like literally I had nobody else that I felt like I could call, and it wasn't nobody's fault other than my own.
So you made a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Once I got caught, I had this moment where I realized this isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Right. Makes it tough.
What brought you to that position? Like, what brought you to such low depths? Like, when we were at lunch a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this. Guys forget their bottom. Like, once you're past that pain, once you're past all of those, once you make peace with your demons, I guess, or at least maybe temporarily make peace with your demons, you're just past that feeling of despair, of hopelessness. Then it gets better for a little bit. You have a momentary lapse, right? And then maybe you go back to it. I know we've talked about that, remembering your bottom. So what got you to that point, man? 20 years in the Marine Corps. You always wanted to be a Marine, right? I mean, we had this conversation. I asked you, hey, man, what'd you want to be when you grew up? Marine, right? Firefighter, cowboy, right? Marine. Want to be a soldier.
So, what brought me to that point was, I didn't realize it at the time, obviously, but when I all of a sudden, 3 years after retirement, did not have anybody leading me, I did not have anybody that I was leading. I did not have men to my left and right that depended on me, and I depended on them. I found myself at a very lonely place. And to be honest with you, I didn't feel like I had anybody that could relate to anything I'd been through, or anything, in my immediate vicinity where I was living, who I was hanging out with, stuff like that. And to be honest with you, even if there was, I would have been too proud and too, I would have been too proud to mention it anyway. But so it was the isolation. And the biggest thing, Bear, man, is I just got tired of being a slave to drugs and alcohol. It's that simple. Like I said, I knew I was an alcoholic at 25 years old. But sometime shortly after I retired, I crossed over from just being an alcoholic and now an addict to a no-kidding slave. And drugs and alcohol and PTSD and anxiety and my nightmares, they made all the decisions for me. And I'll be damned if I wasn't spending 21 years fighting for other people's freedom in places all over the world that I'll never ever go to again and have no desire to ever go to again. But I'm back home now, and I'm a slave to a chemical, to a liquid, to dreams and anger and anxiety. And it was too much. At the time, I felt like it was too much anyway. Right. I realize today that I'm a pretty resilient character, and I can there's a lot more I can take if I need to.
Yeah. How did you feel when you had that aha moment that I just tried to kill myself? What in the world am I doing?
The funniest part about it was when I when I realized, oh my God, I tried to kill myself. I'm a father. I have a son. I have a daughter. I have my nephew whom I adopted, and not one thought went through my head about them while I was trying to kill myself. It was like I was so self-consumed with the pain that I was in. I wasn't even thinking about anybody else. I wasn't even thinking about the trauma that it would create for my children or anything like that. And after I tried to kill myself, I know this sounds dumb, but the first thought that went through my head was my damn service dog. Because I thought, man, if I would have killed myself, what if nobody would have found him? What if nobody would have found me for a few days? Who would have took care of him? Then the thought was, well, what if he doesn't let him in the house? What if they try to come get me and he doesn't let him? Are they going to hurt him? Then it was, well, I can't imagine him spending the rest of his life in the pound. Man, I need to get help. And then after I made the phone call, it's all of a sudden the realization that, my God, I almost orphaned my children. And to be honest with you, chaps, that was the first time I felt like some of the weight came out of my pack. I just asked for help. And just asking for help, I guess, was the realization that I can't do this on my own. Because the minute I asked for help, I felt a little bit lighter. I felt a little bit lighter just knowing that somebody's got to help me because I can't do it myself.
Do you think it was that eureka moment like that? You said, you got caught, right? I don't know if there were attempts before, but generally when you get caught doing something you shouldn't do, that shame there that exists for a reason, right? We talk about shame and guilt, and man, could I have done this better? I was talking to a vet, and one of the stories I heard, him and his buddy were going back and forth. This buddy was suicidal, and he said, I think I'm going to kill myself. He said, okay. He said, why? They start talking, they go back and forth. He was like, okay. He was like, I respect your decision. He said, before you do that, he said, I want you to call my 5-year-old daughter, your niece, and tell her what you just told me. Right? And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. So he starts dialing the phone, and he picks it up, and it's his daughter, right? And he hands her the phone. He was like, go ahead, tell her. Tell her what you told me, right? Like, you're set on this path. I want you to do this. You're convicted. Go ahead. Couldn't do it. But it's that, I don't know, maybe that moment of shame that kind of snaps you out of shit. You know what I mean? Like it opens your eyes, that eureka moment. Yeah,
for me, that was when I came to the realization that anything that at 42 I was at the time, anything at 42 years old that I have to lie or hide about, it's something I know ain't right. Right. And it's that simple. That's the great part about the life I live today, man, is I don't have to lie to anybody anymore because I've cleaned all that stuff out of my closet. You know what I'm saying? And today, so I get to move forward and be completely honest with everybody and anything I participate in. And the realization that man, I'm lying and hiding something. That was the last time I ever had to deal with the fact that I'm lying or hiding something. And it was a hell of a way to have to do your last lie and your last high. But, like I said, I'm grateful today because I nearly killed myself. I was about 1.5 pounds of trigger pull away from killing myself. But I know today, 8 years later, even 18 months later, that I would have killed the wrong guy because I'm not that cat anymore. I am nowhere near that cat. That cat was just that was Jeff Shalansky for a certain time on this planet. I was not that cat beforehand, and I'm certainly not that cat friggin' 8 years later. So I would have killed the wrong guy. And that feels really good today to be able to share that and say that, I almost killed somebody. But
so I guess we can say this is Jeff version 2.
Yeah, this is Jeff 3.0, I feel like, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, the first year in recovery, I like to refer to your first 18 months for me. I like to refer to it as purgatory. It really is, man. All the stuff that you've been pushing down to the bottom, all the stuff that you've been just neglecting and putting away and gaffing off, all that stuff starts to bubble up in that first 18 months. And so for that first 18 months in recovery, it's hard, man. It is hard to deal with. But you just got to, once you push through that, once you get to the other side of it, everything else is gravy. Because like Bear was talking about, that bottom, it's really easy to get up every single day and be grateful when the first thing I taste in the morning is a gun in my mouth. Because I will never ever forget that. I will never ever let that feeling and that thought, or I'll never eliminate it from my brain. And it's really important to me that I don't, because from this point forward, every morning I wake up and I taste CLP from a gun barrel in my mouth before I have my cup of coffee. And because of that, boy, that sucked. Well, today's going to be a lot better than that. And it makes it a lot easier.
Well, your story is riveting to me. We work with so many guys that have had some of those type of experiences, and I want to help everybody. I want to fix everybody. I want to show everyone life is better. But when you're down there, if you've never been down there, it's an unexplainable hurt. And when you open that door and let it release, it's like a floodgate of emotion. And I think that is the key, is being willing to recognize, but then to release. And when you release, that is the beginning of the cure, I think.
For me, that bottom was absolutely necessary for me to be able to find recovery that I have today. Without it, I think if I wouldn't have got, bottom line is your bottom is whenever you're tired of digging, right?
Yeah.
It's your bottom. Whenever you're just to the point where I cannot see my life getting any worse than this, that's your bottom, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, I'm a Marine. You're a soldier. You're a Marine. We adapt to everything.
We just keep digging.
Yeah, we keep digging because
what we do.
It ain't worse than on the battlefield. Right. Oh, I haven't showered in 2 weeks. That's okay. I've gone 45 days without showering on the battlefield. Oh, what? There's no food here? Oh, I've gone without food before. That's no big deal. Oh, wait, people are trying to hurt me and destroy me. That's okay. I've done that before too. So that's the problem is, we say adapt and overcome in the military all the time.
Yeah.
But when we get out, especially if you're like me and you're dealing with trauma and addiction and everything else, I leave the overcome. I take that out of the bag and I just adapt. And I just keep adapting to a worse lifestyle, a worse way of living, a more terrible way to friggin' carry out the rest of my life. And it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And that's my problem. I just kept digging the hole. Yeah. There was plenty of target indicators that said, bro, you need help and you need to stop right now. Right. But it was finally a pound and a half of trigger pull away from, oh man, this is as far as I can take this.
Wow. Tell us about your family. Because you at one point were willing to walk away from your family, but I know at this point in your life, you're so grateful that you didn't.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us about that.
I have 2 children and an adopted nephew that I have, and my adopted nephew, he's gone. He's out there on his own and doing his own thing. But my two children that I have, because I have 2 stepchildren also. One of them, my son, who's in the Marine Corps now, he had my back through the entire thing. My daughter, on the other hand, it took a long time to come back together as a family, and we're there now. And I used to be really upset about it. But the old man that showed me this way of life, he explained to me. He said, "Look, pal, you gave her every bit of ammo that she has." And she can hold on to that ammo. She can shoot it at you. She can do whatever she wants to do. And you know what? You gave ammo to a lot of other people too. A ton of other people. And you get to decide, do you want to let them keep shooting the ammo at you until they're done? Or do you want to break contact and move out of small arms range? There's certain people that I just decided, I'm going to break contact. I'm going to move out of small arms range, and we're not going to do business any longer. We're not going to see each other. We're not going to communicate.
Right.
My daughter was one that I was willing to let her shoot as much ammo as she had at me. because in hopes that one day she would be tired of shooting ammo and she'd let me back in her life. And we're there now.
Yeah.
It took a while. I've been in recovery now for 8 years, and it took all of about 6 years to get there. But it was worth it for her. There's other people that it wasn't. There was other people that I just wasn't going to let them shoot all that ammo at me. And so I broke contact. Now, because of recovery, I have a bride today that is my everything. And the best part about her is I get to do living amends with this woman. I get to treat her in a manner times 10 of the way I should have been treating the mother of my children. The mother of my children did not get treated in a manner of which a bride deserves to be treated. I treated her horribly for a very, very long time. And there's no amount of sorries that I could ever say to make that up to that woman. There's nothing I can do to even consider her to forgive me for it. But fortunately, I get to make living amends to the bride that I have today. And so everything I do with her and for her, I make sure that I try to go over the top to try to just make up with her for the way I treated my original wife. And that's the greatest gift recovery has, man, is the ability to make living amends to people or institutions or organizations that I cannot make it up to. Fortunately, I go out and I tell them I'm sorry. I tell them, hey, there's anything I can do to make it up to you, but there isn't. There really isn't anything. But I do get to make it up to other people, and that's what my bride is today.
Love and grace are two very powerful experiences in life. And every single man, I've been married for 43 years to the same beautiful woman. And I'm going to tell you what, there's been some grace she's given me to put up with me. And there's so much power in just loving someone to such an extent that you're willing to let them be who they are and yet help them become a 3.0, a 4.0, and together. But it does take a lot of I'm sorry's along the way, because every one of us mess up. And I can only imagine the strength of your wife, hearing your story, how much love she must have for you. And she's got to be a person of grace.
And, like I said, I met my bride when I was still in purgatory phase of recovery. I was a year clean and sober when I asked her out on a date. I met her when I was 6 months clean and sober. But, I'm not supposed to get involved in any relationship type things in the first year. So I waited till my sobriety date is September 6th. On September 8th, I think I asked her out and said, September 8th is my sobriety date. So September 10th, I think I asked her out.
Okay.
And so I was still, going through some stuff when she agreed to go out with me, and she, we went on our first date. I still had some issues that I was working on because I was still definitely in that purgatory phase. Yeah. But that woman has brought out, let's put it this way, there is no FOB Rasor without my bride. My bride is the reason why FOB Rasor is in existence. Yeah. We were driving down the road in Kingwood, and she said, "You're missing something. I don't know what it is, but I could see you're missing something." And I said, "I need to help vets the way the old timer helped me, the way my best friend Joe Rasor, nobody was there for him before he took his life." And on that day, she said, "You're going to do it." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm just a good idea ship. I don't do stuff like that." Well, she's an entrepreneur, and she wouldn't let the idea go away. And she literally every Sunday at 10 in the morning, I'd be getting ready to make breakfast and get ready for football, and she'd be like, "Not today, not until you work on this business plan." And we did that every Sunday for a year, because she was not going to let the idea of FOB Rasor go away. So that's literally the type of bride I have in my life today.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where would we be without second chances, brother?
Oh, man.
Because nobody gets it right the first time.
No. And, that's the best part about, America loves a comeback story, right? America loves a comeback story. Nobody wants to hear about the story that the guy that was born rich and got richer. That's lame. You know what I mean?
Right. Boring.
Everybody loves the comeback story. Well, honestly, man, I feel like nobody, I don't feel it, I know. Nobody loves a comeback story more than my God. My God loves a comeback story. And, you know, the fact that I get to be a comeback story for other warriors. I get to be a comeback story for my children, somebody that can inspire them. But my God's sitting up there and he's saying that cat, man, went from the bottom and he's trying every single day to get a little bit better. That's the ultimate comeback story. You know what I'm saying? That is the greatest thing that I could ever be to anybody or anything. It's just a comeback story.
Yeah, throughout life we have those choices to go left or right. Sometimes we go left and God pulls us back to the right. Sometimes we go right and we celebrate. I think it's fantastic when we recognize, man, I've gone left and I've been left way too long. and we seek somebody to help us pull us back to the right.
Man, the way I look at it is my life is I'm walking down the road.
Yeah.
And sometimes I come to a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And that fork is always my will or my God's will. And if I go down my will, it never works out well. You know, it may work well for a little while, but eventually I got to turn around and come back to the fork and go the other direction. Yeah. And that's the way I look at life today is whenever I'm faced in a dilemma and I have a decision to make, I have to ask myself, am I trying to make this decision based on my will? And if I am, then I need to change directions because my will puts a gun in my mouth. My will has me freaking addicted to drugs and alcohol. My will allows the traumas of the past to consume me to the point where I don't feel like I have a way out. My higher power's will doesn't have that issue, man. So I need to stay in his.
Yeah.
So what is FOB Razor? What do you do?
FOB Razor is forward operating base Razor. Forward operating base because we wanted a place where the warrior can come back behind friendly lines, reboot, refit, get more ammo, and then go back out onto the battlefield with men to their left and right. I tried to fight this fight just like a lot of us do by myself, and it nearly killed me. And it kills a lot of us every single day. Right. Because we're trying to fight this fight. An enemy that kills 22 of us a day, 45 of us a day. I don't think we'll ever know the true data. But every one of those men, for the most part, I guarantee you, are trying to fight this fight by themselves. An enemy that kills that many of us a day. We haven't taken that many KIAs on a daily basis friggin' for a really long time on the battlefield.
Right.
But here we have them. So forward operating base is a place where we can go back out onto the battlefield with men to our left and right. And Rasor is named after my best friend, Joe Rasor. He killed himself 6 months after I tried to kill myself. We weren't just best friends from the neighborhood. I handpicked him for my team in Iraq. I handpicked him for my team in Afghanistan. And he was from my hometown. So you know we didn't know each other then, but we did when we met up in the Marine Corps. And you guys know the deal, man. You got a squad or a platoon of men, that's family. And then all of a sudden one of those guys comes in and he's from the same hometown and has the same experiences.
Oh yeah.
That's family. And that's the way we were. And he tried to kill himself 6 months after I did. So when I felt compelled to try to help other veterans, I did it and wanted to keep Joe Rasor's name. I want to be able to say his name every single day. And so today what we are is we're a peer support group for veterans and first responders. Right. We had to invite first responders to the table, not because it was my idea, but because when I asked Joe Rasor's mother permission to name it Rasor, she said absolutely under one condition, and that I invited first responders because she herself is a retired detective in my hometown, and Joe Rasor's father is a retired detective in my hometown. Both of them, which I'm pretty sure rousted me a couple of times as kids. But they understood the trials and tribulations that they're going through as first responders. So when she said absolutely. So we are a peer support group for warriors. We are not a rehab. We are not a sober living. We are not a hospital. For lack of a better way of explaining it, FOB Rasor is the AA or NA or Cocaine Anonymous or Celebrate Recovery for the warrior. We don't care what you're afflicted with. We don't care if you have PTSD, come on in, me too. If you're an alcoholic, come on in, me too. If you're an addict, come on in. If you're suicidal, me too, come on in. It doesn't matter if you're afflicted with all of those or none of those or whatever. If you got something that I ain't never heard of before,
come on in.
Come on in. You're a warrior. You're welcome aboard. And so while other organizations try to treat the affliction, we treat it for what you are, and that's the warrior. So in our meetings, our FOB Rasor meetings, when we introduce a topic and we share on a topic, we speak like military fighting men, and we relate to the topic to being on the battlefield or being amongst our warrior buddies. And because I found by doing that with the old man that showed me this way of life, when he explained stuff like that to me, left and right lateral limits, immediate action drills, and all this as it relates to my recovery, I sat up straight. My chest came out, and I remembered that I am a military fighting man, and I am fighting today just like I did then. And so I just basically took what this gentleman showed me, and I ran with it on a large scale. And you know, we do that eight meetings a week. Our goal is to have 24 meetings a week. But right now we're doing 8 meetings a week, but we're also doing kneecap to kneecap mentoring. That's where the rubber meets the road. It's not just the group thing. It's the kneecap to kneecap. This is what you need to do in order to change your life. And if you're willing to stand side by side with us and do it the way we suggest, you got a good chance. And if you don't, we're going to be here for you, but we'll be here when you come back too, because you're probably not going to make it. Right. Or if you do make it, you're going to, I shouldn't say you're probably not going to make it, but what I mean is that, my experience says it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you than it was for the way the old man showed me how to do it. And, that's what we do. We also do some cool stuff, man. We have couples meetings first Friday of every month. And that's because, if you're in a relationship and you're dealing with addiction or trauma or anything like that, it is a team event, man.
It's a we thing.
It's definitely a team event. So we have couples meetings so that the spouses, the girlfriends, the husbands, the boyfriends, they can sit at the table and they can join this meeting, and then we can get stuff out, how the team handles this stuff and how the team deals with this stuff. And that's pretty cool. And then, we do mandatory fun. We do that once a quarter. And the reason why is because when I was driving to rehab after my suicide attempt, I thought I will never, ever have fun again. I literally tried to kill myself, but I thought I'm never going to have fun again. And so we have mandatory fun once a quarter. And it's an opportunity for the old heads of FOB Rasor to show the new guys fun can be achieved, and we're going to have it. And we're not going to get drunk and high doing it. Right. And so we do that too. And that's usually the highlight of every quarter for me is those events.
So are y'all co-ed, male only?
No.
How are your groups?
Our groups are, if you're a veteran, you are welcome.
Okay.
If you are a first responder, you are welcome. Yeah. And there's no segregation in any way, shape, or form for any of it. It is 100%. That's the only requirement for membership. I say it at every meeting. The only requirement for membership is that.
Well, I think it's interesting because I have opportunity quite often to work with first responders, with the police departments and things of that nature. And it's amazing to me how many police officers, just say law enforcement officers, many of them have battle-tested backgrounds.
Absolutely.
So we're missing out on opportunities when we don't do that. So thank you for doing that.
And the way I understand it is we go put on a flak and helmet for 8, 9, 10, 12 months, and we come home and we get to decompress for 6 or 7. And then we do it again. They put on their warrior gear every single day. Every single day they're on the battlefield. I mean, they may not be having the high volume of ticks that we have in that 6 months or 9 months or a year, but every single day there's the opportunity for tick. And that is something that man, you a warrior if you're doing stuff like that. And that goes for the firemen. First responders see atrocities every single day that I still freaking have nightmares about from the times I've seen it in limited exposures on the battlefield. And they see that every single day.
Yep.
So absolutely, those men are warriors and those women are warriors.
Yeah.
And I've been to a couple of Jeff's meetings, and man, I mean, it's powerful. It's phenomenal. I mean, no man is an island. And if you're struggling with something, and I still struggle, I should probably make more of your meetings instead of just running my own. Man, but it's powerful, man. I mean, misery when shared is half the sorrow. Happiness when shared is double the joy. Man, I mean, what you're doing, I mean, it is literally an inspiration because, guys, I've used the mantra now, I'll show you mine, then you can show me yours, right? I'm going to try to be vulnerable with you, be honest, authentic, and open with you. And then you can choose if you want to be vulnerable, honest, open, and authentic with me. Right. But I want to put myself out there. I'm trying to get guys that look like us to talk about their feelings. And that's one of the hardest damn things in the world to do because you weren't taught that growing up. Right. But it's okay, man. It's okay to need some help.